What's up, guys? Bingo here, and I got the Duel Factory for this week's installment of X-2 Drop, a weekly podcast we do to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And anything we're feeling about the game at the current point in time, or just because we're bored. So, today, we're going to talk about the 3 best meta decks, and we're just going to go from there. So, the most broken of the meta decks, I feel like, is Danger Thunder Dragon by far. Like, what do you think?
That deck ceiling's insane. Like, I was playing it yesterday because I honestly think we're only going to have a couple more weeks to play with it anyway because we have an incoming ban list, but, like, what you can do is insane.
Yeah, because out of the 3 best decks, Salaman Great, Danger Thunder, and Sky Striker, this deck is the only one that makes your opponent feel like they can't do anything, and it doesn't matter how good their hand is. Because, yeah, like, you could brick a little bit with the deck, but for the most part, it's like rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, set up fucking negate and protection and Colossus. It's too much.
The deck is like one of the things about the deck that I know is like the deck is super RNG, like beyond. Like, your plays always alter depending on, like, your danger hits and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny now because we've seen the deck evolve so much ever since its release from Soul Fusion. It's almost to the point, like, where I noticed, especially yesterday when I was playing it, like, your Thunder monsters, other than, like, regular Thunder Dragon, are, like, all bricks. And, like, the best part of your deck's the Dragon component. Like, yeah. It's actually insane. And
then how the deck evolved, like, it's just... The cards that used to be outs to, the board, they're just not outs. Like, you have to draw, like, Sphere Mode to have any sort of play unless your hand's just broken, because they got this, was it Star Liege Photon Blast Dragon? That card, I don't know, is that standard right now?
It's not standard right now. It's something that's being experimented with, but I'll just go ahead and read it to you real quick so I'll give you an idea of what it does. So, it's generic rank 4, it only takes 2 level 4s. And its first effect's irrelevant, but when you XYZ summon, you can special summon a Photon monster from your hand. That's not really relevant. The other part of this effect, though, is while this XYZ summon monster card's on the field... Oh, shit, I just lost the card text. But while it's on the field... I don't want that.
Yeah, monsters you control 2,000 or more 2,000
attack. Or more attack with card effects. Also, yeah, they can't be targeted with 2,000 or more attack. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. And what makes that insane, especially in this deck, so normally it's not that big an issue because Star Liege itself is at 1,800, so if you deal with the Star Liege, you deal with the entire board. But in this deck, the part of the combo sequence that you do it in, you summon it underneath the Saryuja, putting it at 2,100 attack, so he's no longer targetable or destroyable by card effect, and then he's pumped up to 2,100 attack and 2,800 defense. So the combo I was doing yesterday... if you, like I said, Wyver Solar is like the main combos, but usually what you're ending on Zombie Sign, Saryuja, Colossus, the Star Liege Photon Dragon, and you're also ending on Goliath coming back.
Yeah, and that's after you rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand.
Yeah, you rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, and they're dealing with that. They can no longer be destroyed. They can no longer be targeted by card effect. Like, the cards are... like, that combo itself is insane. The only issue with it that I've noticed, especially now that if you're looking at the list, your extra deck is super cramped. Like, you just don't have the necessary room possibly to make this deck like this combo standard. You would have to sign extra deck cards for like certain matchups and stuff like that. But like, you have to play Pisty, you have to play Star Liege Photon, you have to play the Dark Matter combo. And since you're summoning the Galaxy Eye off your Agripane, you can't play like Hot Red or Crystal Wing. But you still have to play Zombie Sign. Like, it's just your extra X is super, super cramped.
Yeah, other than Phoenix and Unicorn, like, you will use every single card in this extra deck turn 1.
Oh, every time. And also, like, if you notice that, like, the list that you have popped up, like, your main deck's also cramped. Because for that specific combo, you have to play 2 Wyvern in the main deck, and you also have to play Red Med.
Yeah, it's just this is the only deck where you can't, no matter what deck you're playing, like, you can't go into that board. Like, I can't anchor, I can't impermanence, I can't do anything as a Sky Striker player. And Salaman Great, like, what's a Salamangreat player gonna do against a Zombie Stein, 2 Colossus, and can't target them?
It's also really cool too. One thing I noticed because Jesse Cotton was siding in a lot. I've seen it picking up for like mirror matches. People were siding Electric Virus because you can take like people's hot reds and turn off their Goliath and start playing the game. But Star Leech Photon Blast just makes it to where you can't target them with Electric Virus anymore. That's a really cool application that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, because all that says is you discard it and you take a dragon or something like that.
Yeah, you discard it and target a dragon or a machine on the field.
So, this is the one deck that I think is going to get the most hits on the upcoming ban list. It's just too... It does too much in comparison to everything else.
It just keeps evolving, and like the things you do just become more and more and more disgusting as you go. And it's just like right now, if you think about it, it's just Levianeer Turbo, Levianeer same card.
Yeah, because I mean the Thunder Dragon deck has gone through probably the most amount of changes in the shortest amount of time of any other deck I've ever seen. Just because of the cards being released, and every time they hit an enabler like Fairy Tale Snow, they just figure out a new one.
Yeah, but think about this. So this is the evolution. So set came out, everyone's playing pure, or playing with Brilliant Fusion, whatever. But for the most part, it's pure. And the big thing is you're ending on double Colossus Titan. That's the board you want to break, right? Fast forward to a couple events. Now we're going like double Colossus, Colossus Titan, and rank 8. But now we're introducing like big rank 8 negation monsters and stuff like that. Then Banlist comes by. You take away well, not Banlist comes by. But then we go a step further, and now we're playing dangers in the deck because the mirror match is becoming more and more prevalent. And you need to be able to kill your opponent without searching, and the dangers allow you to do that because now you're making Bora loads, you're doing this, and you're doing that. And then we're starting to include cards like Fairy Tale Snow. Then you have the event before all the stuff got hit out of the deck. You have the event where people are playing Curious Lightsworn Dominion to send Snow or to send Eradicator or send Imperial Order, then make Griffin. So then you're ending on Phoenix, Griffin, Colossus, Floodgate. Like, that's insane. And then you thought the deck lost a lot of steam when it lost Snow, but then the Guard Dragons come out, and now you have the evolution of the deck as you see before you, where you're just putting up multiple negations, you're taking multiple cards, you're putting up a Floodgate that says you can't search, and you're doing this almost every single turn.
Yeah, and the deck does have its problems. Like, don't get me wrong, a well-timed hand trap to the less than optimal hands, it's going to suffer, but you can say that with any deck, right? Just because it loses to hand traps sometimes doesn't mean it's a fair deck.
Yeah, exactly. Like this deck reminds me a lot of Chaos Dragons, where like well-timed, so if you ever played against Chaos Dragons, like a well-timed Maxi turned it off, or a well-timed Veiler turned it off. Now this deck, like a well-timed, especially like a suboptimal hand, like if you hit Summons Work, the game's over. But like sometimes there's just like you invest only 2 cards to get to that point, and then like your hand's just full of danger monsters, and you're still gonna go off. So this like.
Yeah, you're still going to be able to make sure you do. You're still going to be able to do the Guard Dragon stuff. You'll probably end on 1 to 2 Colossus plus a negate through a hand trap.
People say it's high risk, high reward, but I feel like this is like low risk, super reward.
Yeah, the
best way to put it.
The risk to reward ratio it's not there.
And then like look at all the. If you notice, like there's some actually some super saucy cards you can play with it. Like we saw people experimenting with like Defrag Dragon. People are experimenting with the Crystal Wing. Hot Red's basically a staple at this point. And then if you have the money, a lot of people... If I had the money to play it, I would play Chaos Emperor for sure.
So what does that card do that obviously the regular Chaos Emperor can't do? Okay,
so if you look at the deck list, you see how I'm playing 2 Wyvern and how I'm playing that Star Leech Photon Dragon combo?
Yeah.
If you put the Wyvern, if you have the prize card, you can literally only play 1 Wyvern and still do the full combo because you get to resolve the Wyvern multiple times and still have a level 4 on the field. That's the big thing. And that's what makes the Pisty combo so broken.
Okay. So how would you check this deck in the upcoming 2 weeks?
Me personally, okay, so as you see in the deck, as I said earlier, like, the Thunder monsters themselves are actual bricks. The only ones that aren't bricks are like your regular OG Thunder Dragon and Battery Man Solar. Solar, I don't think is ban worthy. But I definitely think you put Colossus to 1 because having access to multiples like the big problem because that's what's triggering the good effects of your bad not danger mod, but your bad thunder monsters. Uh, I think Dark Matter needs to go in this deck specifically because now we're playing the Goliath combo since you have such easy access to it. The dangers that you see in the main deck right now, those are all dangers I think should go to 1. They're just, if we're being 100% honest, these monsters are just unfair. We didn't talk about it earlier, but I think you can make an argument to do.
To do what? You cut out.
I said, we didn't talk about it earlier, but now that the more I look at it, you could probably make an argument to do something to Chaos Dragon Legionnaire because of how powerful of a card it is. But if I think you hit like the other cards, I think you take away from Legionnaire, so I don't think you have to, but...
Yeah, I think just because of the card pool, Legionnaire is good. It is kind of like, if you open 2 Legionnaire and less than optimal, like, you're not going to be able to do anything, but the card's really good. I don't think it needs to get hit, but like Sky Blaster, Saryuja, like
Saryuja.
Summon Sork maybe.
Saryuja going the 1 is a definite. I think Sork shouldn't be in the game because it's like Ediception said, it's just Lone Fire in your extra deck, and that's not okay. Same thing with LP. LP is just Lone Fire for a dragon in your extra deck, and that's not okay.
Yeah, but they're not going to touch LP.
Yeah, I doubt they'll touch LP. Sky
might hit
Blast
Red Med. But yeah, there's a lot of things they could hit. It's just, are they going to do enough? Because if they don't do enough, then the deck's just going to adapt, and it's going to do more of the same thing.
Right. So. Although I'm also a firm believer that our community is doing everything in its power to get Sekka's Light banned. Just saying.
Well, if OCG had dangers, they'd be doing the same thing.
Like, we're doing everything in our power to get that card banned.
Sekka's Light just says you can't draw other cards with spells, so we're like, okay, well, we'll just play these 9 Upstart Goblins with better effects.
We're still drawing, just not the traditional way.
So, yeah, Danger Thunder, not my favorite deck to play against. But the next one we can talk about is Sky Striker. We're all sick of seeing this deck around. It's been almost a year. It's like 11 months, right?
Yeah, I think it came out. It's either April or May. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was April.
But
the deck, like this deck's so weird because obviously the text changed, the hand traps changed, but like the deck hasn't like evolved at all because the engine doesn't mix that well with other things. So we know exactly what it does. It's not like if we hit Kagari to 1, the deck's going to change its playstyle. So
it's a definitely like really weird deck because, like you said, like the structure of the deck itself honestly doesn't change. Like you're still playing the core principles of it. The only thing that changes about the deck personally itself is what cards that are the utility cards, such as your Afterburners, your Jamming Waves, your Eagle Booster, Shark Cannons, etc. The numbers on those change, and it changes how you play. And that's one of the reasons why I think the deck is so consistent, because you literally have to change nothing other than that. And it has such a huge like pool of hand traps you can play with it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever tried to build this deck without hand traps. Like, say I'm only playing 3 Ash, right? There aren't enough good cards to put in the deck to like facilitate your engine. So like it's very limited. Like there's no starters, there's no extenders like there are with Danger Thunder or Salamangreat, where you got Flame Buffalo, Lady Debug. Like this deck, it's Ray plus the engine and then like stuff to stop your opponent from playing it. I can't just like shove more Upstart Goblins in my deck.
Yeah, it's a deck that doesn't have access to those types of cards, but like it doesn't need them.
Yeah,
like right. It's consistency's there.
Right now, it doesn't need them. My point is, if we hit the main deck cards like Engage or Widow Anchor down to 2, like the deck's just going to suffer, and I don't think it's going to keep up as well. It's still going to be playable. Like I'm not saying it's going to be garbage, but this deck needs to get checked because if you get going, nothing can keep up with you.
So I know you're just putting Widow Anchors down every turn. You're getting multiple draws off fucking Engage.
Yeah, and then
Like,
if
it just
it's
gets worse.
stupid. Like if you can resolve Engage for a draw turn 1, like before you make Kagari, like you should win that game every single time.
Oh, easily.
Like every single Central America player, apparently.
Yeah. Well, some are born with the luck of virgins and some are not.
So me, if I was hitting this deck, I would either hit Engage and Anchor to 2, just multi-roll to 1, or Kagari to 1. Like, there's so many different ways you can approach it, and it's what's best for Konami since they got product and stuff. But what would you do?
No, I don't want to see the deck murdered, personally, myself. So I think you put Engage to 2. You might go as far as putting Widow Anchor to 1. But I think the general consensus is 2.
With one Anchor, I think the deck is dead because you can't set it off multi-roll.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of arguments that can be made, but I think if you want to make the deck still playable, I think if you put Engage to 2 and you put Widow Anchor to 2, and you probably put Kagari to 2 at that point. You can't put it at 1 because that kills the deck.
Yeah,
and then multi-roll,
especially since we don't have Avarice. Like, I know the OCG has 1 Kagari and the deck's still like 1.5, but they have 3 Avarice and they just shuffle back. It's like Zoo when you're resolving combo, right? You just shuffle back one of each extra deck monsters. You make a bullshit Kaina for no reason just so it's in grave.
And you just keep going.
But yeah, we don't have Avarice, so it's a little bit different.
I think just the semi-limits will be enough, because after that, I think at some point the deck phases itself out because it can't keep up with the new stuff that's being released.
Yeah, and I honestly think that the deck is going to get the Zoo treatment. Like, the casuals are going to get the deck reprinted. It's going to be accessible 2-3 weeks or whatever the next list is after that, and the deck's just going to die.
Murder.
Like Engage to 1 or multi-roll banned. Like something like that.
Buried in pepperonis.
Yeah. So that's Sky Striker. We're all sick of seeing it, even though I'm still playing it. Then we got Salad Boys.
Boys made of salad.
Alright, so Salamangreat, this deck it's not the most annoying deck to play against. It can be frustrating at times, but for the most part, it needs to be checked if we're going to check these other decks like we're talking about.
Salamangreat, it's in a weird place because it's a new deck, right? So generally, Konami doesn't want to hit new decks, but at the same time, if you hit the other decks that are currently in the meta, such as your Thunder decks, your Sky Striker decks, and then let's just say, just for shits and giggles, because Altergeist was in the meta for so long, they do something to that deck, right?
Yeah.
So then you're just left with this, where this deck just starts getting out of control because its worst matchups just got a lot worse for itself. Well, it got a lot better for it. Those decks got worse inherently. And because Konami says this is a new deck, it doesn't lose anything. So, its matchup just got way better. And it says you have to do something to it, but you can't do a whole lot to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to limit the consistency without hurting the deck too badly. And I think the general consensus for that is semi-limit Gazelle. I think 2 semi-limits in the deck, like Gazelle, Circle, or Heatleo, or not Heatleo, Sunlight Wolf, that'll be enough. The deck's still completely playable. It can do all the same combos, pretty much the same rate, but your resource management has to change a little bit.
It's funny because we were talking about that earlier. I think if you put it
Hold on, you cut out pretty bad. You think if you do what?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I think if you put Gazelle to 2 and Sunlight Wolf to 2, that does enough for now, until the format itself decides to develop. But the deck's still going to do the same thing that it does. I mean, it gets to play generally almost every single game. And you're still comboing. Obviously not having 3 Sunlight Wolf kind of hurts because now you have to manage your Sunlight Wolves a little bit differently. You're not always going to open Gazelle, but I mean, you have infinite starter cards in your deck to begin with already at that point still.
And I think if Gazelle does get semi-limited, it's going to kind of squash the Flame Buffalo versus Lady Debug argument, because like you're just going to have to see it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you don't touch Circle, you're still going to have 3 circles, you're still going to have Debug, so you're still essentially playing 8 copies of Gazelle in your deck. But, like, you're still taking away... I think mathematically, looking at it, you take away it's either 7 or 8% chance of seeing Gazelle in your opening hand, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but that makes a big difference, especially if
that's 1 out of 10 games. You know, you play three rounds at a regional. Let's say you're on fire and you're winning 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. One of those games, you're not going to see Gazelle in the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Exactly.
But remember, Debug can be Gazelle, but Flame Buffalo...
Buffalo, that can be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything.
That can even be Gazelle.
So... All right. Well, those are the top 3 decks, and we're not oblivious. We know there's other meta contenders like Subterra Guru, Altergeist technically, and we know there's other decks out there, but obviously...
You have to look at the immediate decks.
It's obvious that they can't contend with the current meta as well, because at best they'll get 1 top unless your name's Altergeist. So we know there's other decks that can play, but they're not this oppressive force that are just dominating the metagame. Like Pendulum. Pendulum's a great deck. If you're a good Pendulum player, like you can probably top an event. But it's not shoving its face into every freaking match.
Yeah, the general population can't pick up a deck like that and do well. Unlike these 3 decks where like the general population can pick them up and someone's going to do well even no matter what. But
yeah, it's like Lunalight. It's like Gemini FTK. Like those decks were playable. They're extremely good if you eat, sleep, and breathe the combos. But I'm not like I will never be able to pick up a Lunalight deck unless I sit there for a couple of days just trying to figure it out.
Easily. But I mean, like, there's a lot that goes behind the rogue strategy. So there's that.
Yeah, and I love that's my favorite thing to do is play rogue at events, because everyone knows what the meta decks do, but when you sit down and you normal summon Manju, it's just a good feeling.
It's one of those things I can sit here and talk volumes about rogue players. They get all the credit in the world. Think about it. Playing a rogue deck. That means they're going against the grain. They've sat there and they've tested their deck against the meta decks, God knows how many times, and they understand how those matchups are specifically for their deck, and they know how they have to build their deck to compete with those. And I can only imagine, like, pro players put, like, hundreds of hours into testing. Like, actual good rogue players probably put in the number of thousands, just because of how much they have to adjust their specific strategy to the meta.
So, on rogue decks, like, when a rogue deck tops an event, it's like the second coming of Christ, right? Like everyone's like, what is the deck profile? Like, how did this guy get there? But like if a meta deck tops and he's not playing some like crazy saucy tech, then it's just like, okay, there's another deck. Like I got it. But when BA won European Nationals, like everyone's like losing their fucking mind.
Yeah, everyone was on the fucking BA train. And it was like the Joker argument. Did you ever watch the Batman movies? It's the Joker argument when he's sitting there. He's like, if I say I'm going to kill someone today, no one says a word. No one bats an eye. But I decide to blow up one little hospital. Well, everyone loses their minds.
Yeah.
So let's take this argument to modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! And we'll use this example when people started to play Flame Buffalo. So if I say I'm gonna play Lady Debug because it's a Gazelle, no one bats an eye. No one says anything, right? But if I say I'm gonna cut Debug to 2 and play 3 Buffalo, well, then everyone loses their mind.
It could be Gazelle.
Or the Peter Griffin argument. Whoa! Let's think about this here, Lois. So, Lady Debug's Gazelle. We already know that. But Buffalo, this could be anything. This could also be a Gazelle. So then you see the guy at the local regional, and he goes into Buffalo, and he draws in the 2 Phantasme, and never saw Gazelle.
Yep.
Out there.
So, my least favorite part about rogue decks topping is they usually play some tech card, right? And then every card in that deck that was worth money becomes triple in freaking price overnight.
Every single time.
Oh my god, the secondary market in this fucking game.
Hidden City Theory. No one gave a shit about that card. Subterra Guru does one thing. Boom, $35.
Oh my god.
What's another card they did that to just recently?
I'm just trying to think, like...
Oh, Thunderguard Dragon. No one gave a shit about Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. YCS Chicago rolls by.
$55.
Hot Red's $50. Easy. Sorry, you just go from being $15 to $40. Just putting that out there.
Yep, Saryuja was like one of the few cards in the Mega Tins that'll get you your money back if you were dumb enough and open those packs. And then it jumps up to 40.
Easy.
I just don't get it. Fuck the I hate the secondary market.
Rogue and secondary market go hand in hand like ice cream and cake.
Yeah, did Brio shoot up? Because it shot up to like 80, right? When it got peeled off the ban list?
When it went to 3, I'm pretty sure they were at a bill.
Yeah, I know. They were close, yeah.
They were up there.
Because that card was short print out the ass.
Yeah, but now it's like you were sitting there talking about earlier, like it's settled down since the list came out, but like the card's still sitting at 50.
Yeah, that card should not be at 50, especially with a reprint a week and a half away.
Yeah, the original printing.
Yep.
It's still 50.
And it'll probably stay there. It might dip to like 40 for a little bit, but it'll go back up.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Ultras don't look like... I don't know. Necros is a deck that was expensive and it looked pretty, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, why am I going to play these garbage-looking Ultras when there's pretty-ass secrets right there?
I was saying, I think when Dual Power comes out, cards like that'll go down in value a little bit, but actual true collectors will force it back up. It always happens like that.
Yeah, just over time. So, we're coming up at 30 minutes. We got a couple other things we can talk about. We're not going to go too far into it, but what are some changes that aren't hits on the ban list that you want to see, like for current stuff? What are some things you want to see peeled off?
I want to see Avarice to 1 for sure. I think Avarice would be really good.
Yeah, you always say Avarice and Emerald, right?
Oh, Emerald 100% can come back to 1. I think Emerald should only come back to 1 though, because if you put it to 2, then you promote some of the FTKs it used to be able to do. Especially, I don't know if people remember this one. There's probably some way to do it, just because, if it's been thought of, it's been done. But before Master Rule 4, there was a blue-blooded Oni loop that you did with Emerald that kept cycling the cards back, and you just kept making Emeralds until you decked your opponent out. But you also need a Lavalval chain for that, so I don't think that's possible, even if you have multiple Emerald.
Lavalval chain's never coming off.
Unchain the Chain 2019, just saying.
Okay, I'm only... So Avarice and Emerald. What else?
What was another one we were talking about?
We talked about Lithosogem a little bit.
Yeah, I think okay, that's a card I think is worth talking about. Lithogasm, I think that card can come to 1.
I think it gives Dinos like a way better chance than they have right now.
I think the True King Dino build becomes infinitely better than what it was for what we have currently now. But that's a deck that received like so much hate only because it won World.
Yeah, up until that, it did nothing. Like, I'm not gonna say it did nothing because it had tops, but I don't think it, other than the FTK variant, like I don't think it did anything, right?
No, not really. I mean, like you took away Litho, you put Miscellaneous to 1, you took Denlong.
Yeah, like
god damn.
1 negate, like. That's the scariest thing in the world, I guess.
I don't know. Denlong was pretty good. Like it just so happened to go with the Dino strategy well. But like there was a time for a little bit where we had Denlong Turbo, and that deck was actually insane. Yeah, it was just nothing but 1 card Denlong cards, and like you just kept generating advantage for no reason.
Yeah, but we're getting was it Miko the World Chalice or Ib the World Chalice Miko? It's literally dang long. Like it searches the same card.
Yeah, but is that card a tuner? I can't remember. Is that new one a tuner?
I don't think so actually, but it's level 5. You can use vanillas to make it. Yeah, it says you can use a non-effect monster as a tuner.
I don't know. Denlong was one of those things though, like because like it's a makeable tuner. It can adjust its level. It searches a counter trap card whenever it's summoned, and then it replaces itself. Because Denlong activates no matter what, because it's a mandatory effect. So
yeah, I guess you have to link off the World Chalice chick to get the search.
Yeah, Denlong just gets its effect no matter what. So that card's actually, I think it's infinitely better than what the World Chalice Miko is. But I mean, like fundamentally they do the same thing.
Yeah, just got to play a little bit differently. Some other cards we talked about was Duster and Heavy Storm. I don't think Heavy Storm can come back, but I definitely think Duster can come back.
I think those cards are fine, both of them. I mean, like, Storm can do some cute things, but like they're still just one-ofs. I mean, in theory they do the same thing, but like, I don't know. I think the game's generally gotten to the point where just blowing out back row just doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, I mean, you have the argument that you have Striker and stuff like that, but like, if you go back and watch when Hoban used to play, he said it best: monsters beat trap cards every single time.
Yeah. So we talked about the Dragon Rulers before. Obviously, this is under the pretense that dark matter gets banned.
Whew. Well, I can imagine a world with every single ruler plus dark matter. Whew. Oh, God.
No, they can't exist in the same format, but if they're at 1, what do they do?
I don't know, man. I'm just sitting here thinking of all the stuff we have access to. Because, like, okay, so we now have Guard Dragon cards. So LP is a lone fire for any ruler in your deck. Any ruler, doesn't matter. You have 3 Monster Reborns that specifically say they reborn level 7 or level 8s, and they give blanket protection. You now have cards like Omega, which you only have 1 Omega, but you still have an Omega. You have a pretty broken rank 7 that protects itself, inflicts damage to your opponent, and has the added benefit of also being a dragon, so it's another dragon that goes to the graveyard that fuels it for your other ruler plays. You have access to some pretty broken links in that deck that honestly fix your brick hands. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, the Heretic Link monster like might help out. I just don't think the deck does anything that another deck doesn't do better.
Probably, because like on paper it sounds really, really, really broken, right?
Yeah.
But I think as time has gone on and stuff like that, especially if you're taking cards like Dark Matter away from the deck, it's probably not going to do enough. But, like, it's just the thought of the back of your mind. You remembered what the deck did with 1 of each ruler.
Yeah.
And it was still a tier 1 deck. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, you always got either the flashback, like, what is it? The trauma from facing that deck, or you have the...
yeah, Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah, or the nostalgia goggles. So, like... It's really hard to look at these cards without actually just like trying to play them in the current game. But I don't know. I want to say they'd be fine, but it's a fan favorite deck since all 3 effects, like you can only use 1 per turn at 1 copy. I want to stress that at 1 copy. I think they would be okay.
Well, you also have to take into account the previous ban list before this one that we're eventually going to get. Did a huge favor for us and took Tomahawk away.
Yeah.
Because just 2 rulers just make Tomahawk.
Yeah, I was going to... Since that card's banned, that card just should never have existed in Master Rule 4, but... Alright, so... Double Iris, I think it needs to come back, honestly. Like, if... Just to give Pendulum another avenue to go. I don't even think they'd play it, but...
I think being at one's fine because then you have like access to your pendulum graphs again. But like
Trap Graph is one of the best trap cards I can think of in the current format.
it still has the token curse of being a trap card guard. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And you only have one Electromite, so it's not like your Electromite could be dedicated to doing that play, but... Because, like, I remember, like, when we had full power, like, if you didn't have a way, like, one of the... to it, like, you can use one of your Electromites to get to double Iris and still have the ability to get to Astrograph, get to Chronograph, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so.
I think we all... That full power pendulum format with Joker, double Iris, Electromite, Astrograph, like, that kind of spoiled, or, like, kind of ruined it for me for Pendulum. Because I'm like, that deck was broken. Like, I don't ever want to see it again. But Double Iris is pretty good.
That made Spyro look like a joke for a week.
It was a weekend, and
like it was stupid. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I'm still gonna play Spyro against full power Pendulum." I'm like, "Okay, guy, you do that."
Yeah. See, the problem with that weekend was that deck's really hard to like play well. Like if you're just picking it up, like if you weren't practicing with all those cards. Because I played, I don't know how many players I just destroyed. I was playing pure invoked, and I just destroyed them because they didn't know how to resolve their freaking cards.
The deck just did so much.
Yeah, Astrograph effect. Oh my god.
What was it? I think it was YCS no, it was Atlanta. Me and my buddy Aldo were playtesting. I was playing Hand Trapped Invoked, and like I think there was one game he resolved Astrograph 5 times turn 1. It was gross. I did not enjoy testing against that, but like Gamma was really good. I remember one game.
Gamma, I was playing Gamma and Reaper that weekend.
It was gross.
So 2 more cards that I just want to bring up. One of them being Upstart Goblin.
That card got put to 1 because of memes.
A card, like, it's so strange because I remember being like 12 or like 10, however old I was when that card came out. And I'm like, this card's stupid. Like, it's just like the next card in my deck. Like, why would I play this?
Now you're 25, like, 26.
I want nothing more than to see 3 of this card. Like, it's really good, but would it change that much about the deck or like the format besides Sky Striker getting a free card in the grave?
I think it adds a lot of consistency to decks, but I don't think it ever needed to be put to 1 to begin with. I literally think it got put to 1 because it was a fucking meme. And then I remember when it got put to 1, the card guys, when they were still doing Yu-Gi-Oh content, immediately put up a video with Patrick Hoban. Fucking Spoofy was like, "So how do you feel about Upstart Goblin going to 1?" And literally the video is 10 seconds. All he says was powerful, and then the video stops. Like, it's a meme. So
yeah, I think it should go to 3. And then the saving grace of Yu-Gi-Oh! Max C.
100% avid believer that card should be at 3. 100%.
Why?
Because it literally checks every single deck that decides to vomit their hand on the field turn 1, aka Thunder Dragon.
Yep. If I max see a Thunder Dragon player, like I'll go into that board. See, the problem is going into that board with 4 cards versus 20. Like, it's a lot different.
I'm just saying, if we had 3 maxi, Goki would never have been AIDS.
Oh god.
Just putting that out there.
Goki combo.
Oh, hold on, we gotta do it right. You ready for it? People to my left. Goki combo. There you go. But like, no, like you would see less Goki-esque like decks with 3 maxi.
It would be maxi. You maxi your opponent. You get a draw or 2. They probably have maxi. Like, it's just, it slows it down, but it's not slowed to a crawl where it's like trap decks.
Don't get me wrong. Decks like your Sky Striker and Altergeist type like decks, they get infinitely better with 3 Max C. But like, think of the situation now. Like, okay, you have an Ash Blossom against a combo deck that's just infinite extenders. Like, that Ash Blossom can only go so far.
I mean, even if you're got Max C against Sky Striker, like, depending on the hand, you can get 1 to 3 draws with it. So
Here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that like only casuals complain about actual hand traps like that, where actual like good players who want to play at a competitive level will find a way to play around those cards because those cards are necessary.
Yeah, you're not gonna full commit to a U-Link or like 5 negates, 10 negates, whatever, Triff. So
Triff math has a 99.4% success ratio every time.
what kills me about his videos is just because he has a form of interaction, it is a negate.
It's a negate.
Yep.
People can say what they want. I think it's hilarious. I think he's great for the game.
It started off as a meme.
And now it's... You could say it started off as a meme, but damn near it's close to becoming a cult. It is very close.
His arrogance is priceless. Like
I think he needs like another 10,000 subscribers, and it's a full-on cult.
So the reason I don't mind him is he's arrogant, but he's not really a dick. Like he's just cocky. Like he's like a fucking Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins. He just thinks he's better than everybody.
No. Okay, time out. There's Steven Trifanowski-esque people, and then there's Escanor, and by far, that man is the definition of hype. Is what I like to put. Actually, you know what? No, Escanor and Steven Trifanowski go hand in hand. They're actually perfect.
Yeah, right. Like he just thinks
Steven Trifanowski, the Lionson. It's only funny because if you ever watch his videos, he has nothing but fucking lions in his room.
Oh, wow. All right, guys. Well, we're at 40 minutes or so. So that was this week's episode of X2 Drop. Joe, you got anything before we cut this off?
Praise the sun.
Praise the sun. So check us out on, what are we on? iTunes, Google Play.
There's iTunes, Google Play, and there's a third one you did, but I can't remember. But we're also on
it's like Spotify. So check us out. It goes up every Monday on all 3 of those platforms. So if you got any questions for us, leave it in the comments or whatever, wherever you're watching us. I don't know. All right, peace out.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.